Asoka Bandarage, a Sri Lankan American academic and professor specializing in international development, peace, and security, is releasing a new edition of her book, Colonialism in Sri Lanka. Using primary sources, the book discusses in authoritative detail the origin and evolution of British colonial rule, the implementation of a plantation economy at the center of their power, and the transformation of the Kandyan Highlands of Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, previously known as Ceylon, experienced European colonial rule for 443 years, beginning with the rule of the Portuguese, followed by the Dutch, and most recently by the British. Sri Lanka declared its political independence in 1948, but current processes of external economic, cultural, and military domination, in other words, neocolonialism, continues to threaten the sovereignty of this small island country. The initial attraction of Ceylon for the British was in her strategic location on the east-west trade route and as a naval base for the British Indian Empire. With deception and manipulation, the British conquered the land and built a class of native collaborators. Native lords, commoners, and Buddhist monks who rebelled were found guilty of treason and banished, imprisoned, or killed. In the words of James Stewart, master attendant of the colonial state, "We profess to govern for the exclusive good of the natives of the country, and devote our attention almost exclusively to make the culture of the soil profitable to European adventurers." First as free grants and then at the giveaway price of 5 shillings an acre, the early British planters, almost all of them government officials, were able to accumulate vast tracts of land in the Kandyan Highlands. Customary rights to village highlands were quickly wiped out because of the direct threat they posed to plantation expansion. In the post-World War II transfer of power from the deflating British Empire, the United States began its Sri Lankan influence with overt and covert election interference and political advisors starting in 1956 in support of the right-leaning U.S.-friendly political party. U.S. corporate interest has continually been advanced in Sri Lanka by the IMF and World Bank. Military aid and training and the soft power tactics of the National Endowment for Democracy increased U.S. influence from the 1980s onwards. These external pressures have reinforced and in some cases advanced the old colonial structures and power dynamics that John Stewart so candidly said make the culture of the soil profitable to foreign adventurers. This means prioritizing land and resources for wealthy foreign companies and their local allies, and continually undermining a democratic and independent Sri Lanka. This modern, or neocolonialism, is a client-state colonialism that exerts often hidden power with money and political and economic advisors, backed by military and financial threats, under the pretense of Sri Lanka being a self-ruling state. More recently, China and India have also become power players threatening Sri Lanka's sovereignty. Asoka's book discusses the colonial processes that continue to operate and threaten the sovereignty of Sri Lanka today. The historical trajectory elaborated in Colonialism in Sri Lanka, geopolitical rivalry, external aggression, and internal resistance to that aggression, continue with great vigor in this current complex period. The tremendous suffering and destruction caused by this narrative calls for a shift in human relations, from domination to partnership, from the exploitative and violent path of colonialism and neocolonialism to one of peace, justice, and ecology.